This is a summary of the end of this mimer, where we've summarized that there are 3 forms of tshuva. And we went on to explain that in a certain sense, there are 4. So we laid out the map that tshuva is to tashuv hey, to return the hey. Now, there are 2 levels of hey in the name of Hashem. There's yud hey, and there's vav hey. So there's 2 heys, and there's the way the hey is aligned with the yud, and the way the hey is aligned with the vav. Now, there is tshuva tata and tshuva ilah, which appear to suggest there's only 2 levels of tshuva. And we, of course, have advocated for 3, and we're going to talk about why we don't even say there's 4. We also introduced the idea that the term Baal Tshuva means that you are the master, you are the mashpia of Tshuva. So the summary of the mimer explains that there are 2 levels in Tshuva tata, the return of that hey. One is through the avoidance of evil, the sor meira, and the sor meira prohibits or prevents the kedusha from being hijacked away by klipa. And then there's the tov, which allows us to reach to a higher level to bring it down into this physical world. And that reattaches the hey to the vav, which represents the midos, the 6 midos, and the vertical shape of the vav, which represents the drawing down of godliness into this physical world. When we chas v'shalom do averos, we take the hey away from the vav, and when we do tshuva, we return it to. Then there is this greater level where we return the first hey to the yud. So the yud represents chachma and the hey bina. So now we're talking about we can even become a Baal Tshuva. We can even bring down from a higher level and connect it to the hey, to be mashpia on that hey. If so, why is that hey, which is also subdivisible into 2 levels, not considered a 4th level of tshuva? So we explained because chachma and bina actually match together. They're 2 inseparable entities, 2 friends who are inseparable, and therefore it is only counted as 1. This is further summarized in, as we explained earlier. The mimer said that tshuva is suggested in the letters beis chaf resh, translation as bechor, and now we have this 4th level. So we explained that the word itself is a form of tshuva. So there's the individual letters and the way they coalesce as a word. And we explained the different interpretations and followed that metaphor that just like the Bechor initiates the womb, so too is it suggestive of an initiation that Hashem brings to us that far outweighs the investment of our Isarusa de Lasata, that is Hashem's Isarusa de La'ed. That essentially finishes that mimer of Parshas Shlach. And now we move into Parshas Pinchas. In Parshas Pinchas, the Alter Rebbe begins with the mimer that says, "Savis b'nei Yisrael v'amart alehem," command the Jewish people and tell them, "As carbeni lachmi laishai, my carbon, my bread, my fire, v'amart alehem," and say, "Zeh ha'isha." We asked, why does it say v'amart twice? So we started to explain that every mitzvah has to be effectuated in machshava, vediבור, and מעשה. And we see this in karbanos. There's the machshava of the karbanos, which is comparable to davening. There is the dibor, which is the study of the karbanos, as we know. Whoever engages in the study of karbanos as if he effectuated the karbanos. And then there's the actual deed of the karbanos. So we asked the question, why is it that karbanos are specifically described as reach nechayach? Every mitzvah is the fulfillment of Hashem's will. Why are karbanos particularly a pleasant aroma? And we asked, why is it that karbanos have to be done in the Beis Hamikdash? The study of the karbanos, the davening, those other parts don't have to be done in the Beis Hamikdash. Why does the Maisa characteristic of karbanos have to be done in the Beis Hamikdash? So we went on to explain that we are in a time here in this physical world to do mitzvahs, and the consequence of those mitzvahs, the schar, that comes later in the times of olam haba. So we went on to explain that the difference between olam hazeh and olam haba is that in olam haba everything is locked away, and in olam hazeh there's opportunity for fluctuation. So, for example, in a fully developed person, you can't change the feet to the head, but in the developing fetus, you can nuance out and distinguish and reshape the character. And this is why in the world of olam haba you have a very rigid separation of right and left. Michal of Ava and Gavriel of Yira. But in this world where you have the opportunity for tshuva and you can rearrange the circumstances and you are not locked in to the way it is created now, because you have the opportunity to reach through tshuva to the indistinguishable level that is superior to the rigidity of how it is manifest in Olam Haba, which is called the world where everything is clarified, which of course has the virtue that you see the good and you see the bad and they don't mix. It also, though, has the detriment of being locked, which is not the case in this physical world.